Have you ever wondered what type of introvert you are? Welcome to the fascinating realm of introversion, a space where quiet contemplation reigns supreme. We're about to embark on an enlightening journey, exploring the 5 distinct types of introverts: social, thinking, anxious, restrained, and sensing. Recognizing your unique introversion type can help you navigate your world more effectively. So, sit back, relax, and let's unravel the mystery of your introversion. First on our list, we have the social introverts. Now, what does it mean to be a social introvert? These individuals are not necessarily shy or anxious in social settings, as one might presume. Instead, they simply prefer to spend time in smaller, more intimate gatherings, or even alone, rather than large, bustling crowds. What sets them apart is their preference for quality over quantity when it comes to social interactions. The essence of a social introvert is in how they recharge their energy. You see, unlike extroverts who gain energy from social interactions, introverts recharge by spending time alone or in quiet environments. Think of it like a battery. While an extrovert's battery charges up in a room full of people, a social introvert's battery recharges in solitude or peaceful settings. Let's take a hypothetical scenario as an example. Consider Alice, a social introvert. She's not averse to social gatherings. In fact, she enjoys them. But after a night out with friends, she might need a day or two to herself, simply to refresh and recharge. It's important to debunk some common misconceptions about social introverts at this point. They are not, as often portrayed, antisocial or reclusive. They can be just as warm, friendly, and sociable as their extroverted counterparts. But their social stamina, if you will, runs on a different clock. They may need to alternate their social outings with periods of solitude to maintain their balance. Also, it's worth noting that being a social introvert is not synonymous with having social anxiety. While some introverts may experience social anxiety, it's not a defining characteristic of all introverts. A social introvert might be perfectly comfortable around people, but simply find it more rewarding to engage in deep, meaningful conversations with a few close friends rather than casual chit-chat in a large group. So, if you ever find yourself cherishing your own company, or enjoying the tranquility of a small gathering over the hustle and bustle of a crowded party, you might very well be a social introvert. Remember, there's nothing wrong with preferring a quieter, more introspective lifestyle. It's simply a matter of understanding and embracing who you are. So, if you enjoy your own company or small gatherings, you might be a social introvert. Scene script. Next, we delve into the world of thinking introverts. Thinking introverts are a fascinating group. They're the individuals who often find themselves happily lost in their own thoughts, whose minds are constantly buzzing with ideas and introspection. You might see them gazing out of a window, seemingly in a world of their own. But don't be fooled. They're not simply daydreaming. They're engaging in a rich internal dialogue, wrestling with concepts, and exploring ideas in a depth that can be truly awe-inspiring. Thinking introverts are often mistaken for being aloof or detached, but that's far from the truth. They're not disinterested, they're just absorbed in their inner world. It's a place where they feel comfortable, where they can dissect ideas and ponder life's mysteries. They're the philosophers among us, the introspective poets, the deep thinkers who often come up with groundbreaking ideas. They might not be the first ones to jump into a conversation, but when they do, their insights can be profound and well thought out. That's because they've probably spent a lot of time thinking about the topic at hand, analyzing it from all angles, before they've even opened their mouths. However, there are some misconceptions about thinking introverts. They're not always lost in thought, and they don't always prefer to be alone. Like anyone else, they enjoy meaningful interactions and can be quite sociable when they feel comfortable. The key difference is that they need time to recharge after social interactions, and often do so by diving back into their internal world. Thinking introverts have a unique way of seeing the world. They're the ones who can sit in silence and yet be thoroughly entertained by their thoughts. They're the ones who can find beauty in the mundane, who can take a simple idea and turn it into something extraordinary in their minds. So, if you often find yourself lost in thought and introspection, if you find joy in exploring ideas and concepts in your mind, if you can spend hours contemplating the mysteries of life, then you might just be a thinking introvert. Remember, it's not about being aloof or detached. It's about having a rich internal life that's just as vibrant and exciting as the world outside. If you often find yourself lost in thought and introspection, you might be a thinking introvert. Moving on, let's explore the realm of anxious introverts. These are individuals who often find themselves dwelling in a world of what-ifs and maybes. Their minds are like a never-ending reel of possibilities and scenarios, often filled with worry and anxiety. Anxious introverts, however, should not be confused with individuals who experience social phobia, as their anxiety is not strictly tied to social situations. Anxious introverts might spend a lot of time replaying past interactions or worrying about future ones. Their introspective nature could lead them to overanalyze situations, which can sometimes result in feelings of unease or apprehension. For example, an anxious introvert might spend hours dissecting a simple conversation they had earlier in the day, questioning their responses, their tone, or even the timing of their laughter. Despite these challenges, anxious introverts are not always mired in worry. They also possess a unique ability to foresee potential issues and plan accordingly. Their inclination to think things through can prove quite advantageous in many situations, such as planning intricate details of a project or anticipating various outcomes in a decision-making process. A common misconception is that anxious introverts are always anxious. This is not the case. While they do have a tendency to worry, they also have periods of calm and tranquility. Their anxiety is not a constant state, but rather a pattern of thought that can be managed and controlled. It's also important to note that being an anxious introvert is not a flaw or something to be fixed. It's simply a way of interacting with the world and processing information. Anxious introverts can learn to harness their tendency for deep thinking and consideration in ways that serve them positively. Finally, remember that self-understanding is the first step to self-acceptance. So, if you often find yourself worrying about past and future interactions, you might just be an anxious introvert. As seen script. Next, we meet the restrained introverts. These introverts are often the misunderstood ones in the group. They are defined not by their dislike for social interaction, but by their approach to life and decision-making. They carry a unique charm, preferring a slower pace in life, and are always thoughtful before they act. It's not that they're lazy or procrastinators, but they're simply more deliberate, choosing to measure twice and cut once. Imagine a scenario. A group of friends are planning a spontaneous road trip. While the others are ready to jump in the car, the restrained introvert would need some time to process the information, evaluate the pros and cons, and prepare mentally for the journey. This is not a sign of reluctance or lack of enthusiasm, but a testament to their careful and measured approach to life. They are the ones who always think before they speak, ensuring that their words carry weight and are well thought out. They might not be the first to respond in a group chat, but when they do, their messages are often insightful and valuable. Their measured approach should not be mistaken for shyness or hesitation, but rather seen as a sign of their deep thinking nature. It's also a common misconception that restrained introverts are unambitious or lack drive, but that's far from the truth. They often have clear goals and dreams, but they pursue them in a calm, steady manner, avoiding impulsive decisions and preferring a well-thought-out plan. Restrained introverts can sometimes be underestimated because they don't rush into things, but this trait is actually their superpower. It allows them to avoid hasty mistakes, make thoughtful decisions, and bring a sense of calm and stability to their environments. So, if you find yourself needing time to process information before making decisions, if you prefer to step back, observe, and think before you act, you might be a restrained introvert. And remember, in a world that always seems to be in a hurry, your careful and measured approach is not a weakness but a strength. If you prefer to think before you act, you might be a restrained introvert. Finally, we have the sensing introverts. These individuals have a strong focus on the immediate, concrete details of their experiences. They're not stuck in their heads, they're fully engaged with the world around them. They notice the little things that others often miss. They might seem quiet, but their minds are constantly absorbing and processing information from their environment. Here's the thing though, they're often misunderstood. Many people mistake their focus on concrete details for a lack of imagination or creativity. That's far from the truth. Sensing introverts can be incredibly creative, they just express it in different ways. Their creativity is often grounded in reality, focused on improving or understanding the world around them. Sensing introverts are also known for their practicality and their ability to make sound decisions based on their observations. They're the ones you want on your team when you need a clear, grounded perspective. If you're a person who focuses on the here and now, you might be a sensing introvert. And there you have it, the 5 types of introverts. We've journeyed through the realms of social, thinking, anxious, restrained, and sensing introverts. Each type, with its unique characteristics and strengths, contributes to our diverse world. It's important to remember that understanding these types is not about labeling, but about gaining insight into our own behaviors and preferences. Remember, understanding your introversion type is the first step towards self-discovery and personal growth. Until next time, keep exploring your inner world.